200 years ago, Paris was a filthy dump. That said, if you thought of yourself as a civilized person, you were expected to visit Paris. You didn't go there for sightseeing. You went for the bustle, the energy, the unstoppable march of civilization. It was a cultural hub, a place where writers, philosophers, artists, composers, their patrons, and other unsavory characters mingled, where new ideas were born, where theater was a cult. And yet, back then, many folks agreed that compared to, say, Rome, Paris was, yeah, a dump. Unpleasant, filthy, with that clumsy network of cramped, narrow medieval streets lined with buildings sporting slanted facades. In those days, those streets, suffice it to say they were more claustrophobic than charming. The sewage system left a lot to be desired. Aristocratic salons stood side by side with unbridled, unsanitary poverty. And all of this, mind you, was after Napoleon's infrastructure reforms, like cleanup projects, new sources of drinking water, and other upgrades. That said, amazingly, it was already the City of Light. It already featured Notre Dame, the arches, two walkable boulevards, yes, there were only two, the Louvre, the Palais Royal, Place de la Concorde, the Pont Neuf, the Luxembourg Palace. You could sit in cafes drinking coffee and wine, although I must say the coffee was just terrible back then. No, it wasn't very attractive. And then something happened, something so dramatic that the entire world had to take notice.
Napoleon's nephew, who answered to the name of Louis Napoleon, he was an odd fellow. Following the Bourbon Restoration, he and his mother went into exile, specifically to Switzerland, where he attended military school.
He was still a kid back then. As a result, he would speak French with a slight German accent for the rest of his life.
Well, that's not my fault, is it? Many people have accents.
Ironically, his uncle, the emperor, spoke French with an Italian accent.
Forget about it.
But that's a story for another day. So, upon growing up, this Louis Napoleon character, he wrote books on political theory, visited England, befriended the aristocracy there, and began an affair with Harriet Howard.
Yeah, Harriet Howard, of course. I remember her. In fact, they met at one of my soirees.
Bonjour.
She was a failed actress. Her former lover, the father of her child, he had given her a townhouse and a ton of money. After Louis moved in with her, she would go on to fund his political ambitions, invested everything she had into his career.
Then came another revolution in France.
A provisional government was formed, elections followed, and those who revered the late emperor, who were sick of stupid, greedy kings and corrupt democratic republicans, they turned out in force, electing Louis Napoleon president. Now, the new constitution limited the presidency to a single 4-year term, and that did not sit well with Louis.
This is ridiculous.
He had grand plans. He had a vision. 4 years wasn't nearly enough, and campaigning was a bore, so, long story short, he staged a coup d'etat. Those were glorious days, for him anyway. His men barricaded the narrow medieval streets leading to the National Assembly. The legislators were given an ultimatum. Papers were signed. Louis Napoleon became president for life. A year later, the title changed. The word president was replaced with the word emperor. And that's how he became, Napoleon III.
The ease with which he seized power surprised many, including himself, and that got him thinking.
Yeah, I know. It's complicated. Look, he was a reformer, and yes, his goal was to restore France to its former glory. And yes, he promoted agricultural modernization to prevent famine. And that project was a smashing success. And yet he was uncomfortable. He had this feeling that what he had done to the assembly people could easily be done to him. Like someday some rascal would rally a mob, block off the narrow streets, and overthrow him. Something had to be done about that. He did something, all right. Even though the idea may not have been entirely his, Paris needed a facelift anyway. The traffic was a nightmare. Sanitation was... Don't even get me started on that. Some historians will tell you that the fear of a possible coup wasn't the greatest motivation for the reconstruction of Paris.
No way.
But hey, I'm a storyteller, and to me, dramatic angles are oftentimes more compelling than strictly political ones. So, here's what happened. Napoleon III, let's just say he got lucky.
A highly competent man called Georges Eugene Haussmann,
Or Haussmann, whichever way you want to pronounce it,
was recommended to him. After a brief interview, the emperor appointed him prefect of the Seine, putting him in charge of planning and construction.
Now, Haussmann was a lot more than just a skilled administrator and urban planner. He was a man, among other things, he was a man of impeccable taste. Good taste. It's everything, right? His proposal was to cut broad, straight boulevards, cut them through the medieval maze, connecting the city's key landmarks. Wait a minute, boulevards? Yes, boulevards. You see, a boulevard has many advantages, but the one advantage that must have appealed the most to the emperor was the fact that you can't barricade a boulevard. Narrow streets, that's just too easy. You pile up some trash and some old furniture and you've got your barricade. These rascals, the Parisians, they had been doing it for centuries. They had all the expertise and experience and the know-how. But boulevards are too wide to barricade. No barricades, no revolutions. And so the project commenced and continued for about 20 years. Did I mention that Haussmann was a man of good taste? Every day, he would walk around Paris armed with a notebook, taking notes, deciding which buildings were to be demolished and which to be preserved. So today, when you stroll around Paris and you're walking down one of those boulevards and you see a building, a church or a residential building, set at a slight angle to the boulevard, like it's sitting right there on the boulevard, but it's a slight angle to it. Know this, Haussmann liked it and decided to spare it. He made it a point to preserve anything that in his eyes had either historical or aesthetic value. Seriously, all jokes aside, great job.
Okay.
However, even an emperor has to respect what? Property laws. In order to demolish a building, you have to purchase it first. This naturally resulted in this massive, colossal storm of corruption. Plans were leaked and purchased. Shady deals were made. Buildings were bought for pennies and then resold to the government for a fortune. Well, but that's to be expected, right? I mean, you put a lot of people and a lot of money together, and what you have is corruption. The trick is to keep it manageable, and somehow Haussmann managed it.
Still, a lot of folks made a lot of money using methods that weren't strictly legal. Greedy money-grubbing assholes. But that's a minor detail, I suppose.
Haussmann was not a man to leave aesthetics to chance. As he interviewed potential developers, he laid down some pretty strict rules.
Number 1. Each building must occupy the entire block. Number 2. It must have beveled corners, perfect for cafes and flower shops. Number 3. Buildings must be 6 stories tall. Number 4.
Wrought iron balconies must run along the entirety of the second and fourth floors, corner to corner. Number 5. French roofs with mansard apartments are required. Number 6. The eaves and the French roof must be pitched at exactly 45 degrees. Number 7. Limestone will be the primary material. Number 8. Wide sidewalks lined with tall, shady trees are a must.
When you walk along any of those boulevards today and you wonder what architectural styles those buildings are, well, are they neoclassical? Are they Baroque? Maybe some combination of the two? With a hint of Beaux-Arts, maybe? Well, no, not at all. It's Haussmann's own style, even though historians insist we call it Second Empire, the silly pedants. He also built train stations, opened new parks, and oversaw the construction of the famous Paris Opera. The entire project took 2 decades to complete. It bankrupted the treasury. It did play a role in Napoleon III's downfall, along with some political blunders and the Franco-Prussian War. And yet, even as it was still going on, the reconstruction project, some cities around the globe suddenly started following Haussmann's model. And one of those cities, paradoxically, was Rome. Rome itself, the eternal city. I mean, today, if you walk through the Prati district near the Vatican on a sunny day, you'll see the similarities immediately. Today, the boulevards are the arteries of Paris. Elegant, vibrant, essential. You can't imagine the city without them. If, on the other hand, you wish to know what the city looked like before the boulevards, well, you could visit the Marais. It's one of the few areas that Haussmann left untouched. Today, it's clean, charming, and carefully preserved. Narrow streets, slanted facades, quaint little shops now outfitted with modern plumbing, heating, and electricity. Paris remembers its past. And that, by the way, is a habit other cities would do well to emulate. Not all boulevards remain true boulevards, but some still are. Like a tree-lined walkway runs down the center, flanked by formerly carriage and now car traffic on either side. It's a good place to take a stroll, bump into some friends, decide which cafe you'll descend on tonight to share impressions of life, love, romance, history, or whatever magical things Paris inspires in you. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. I'm Ricky Vernio coming to you from Brooklyn, New York, and I'll see you soon.